Hello, this is the Tradesight U.S. Stocks, Futures, and Forex Market Preview and domestic and international economic data roadmap for the week beginning Sunday the 29th of November 2020, ending Friday the 4th. We hope you had a good trading week. Here's a look at the dollar index. So we'll start with the Forex side. Dollar got weaker, made new lows, but again, it wasn't with any kind of urgency. We broke a risk line. There's just not a lot going on there from that perspective. So let's take a look at some of the daily charts and then the intraday charts of the Forex pairs. Euro dollar, the opposite of the dollar index. Not quite to new highs, even though the dollar index hit new lows, but it's very close, and it is what it is. Pound dollar, dead flat. Look at this. You look at those 5 candles. That's the daily chart. Yeah, nothing happened at all. Literally a dead flat week. And remember, you had Thanksgiving, so you had a limited week to begin with. In the U.S. Here's the Aussie dollar, not much there. The euro yen, not much there. It was really just a dead waste of time week. The pound yen moved lower, and there is that. So not anything really to see here. Now, when you look at the intra-week action, again, with the holiday and everything else, but, you can go back, you can look, that's like last Friday at the far left side of the chart, and there's just, total high to low for the week is 180 pips. Not even that, actually. Take out something. It's more like 160 pips. Remember, the euro dollar tends to trade 120 pips is what it is. Here's the pound dollar. High to low for the week here is only 120 pips. That's not good. And this is just a horrible chart, right? Back and forth in a narrow range. Nothing happens. So I wouldn't worry about that. We had a horrible week from Forex side, and there's nothing really to see there. And we'll just move on to the stuff that actually matters, which is the rest of the market. Here's a look at the ES front month futures contract. This is the daily chart, the broad market in futures form. Obviously, new highs were touched at a certain level. Almost, not quite. Let's go through the daily charts of everything else. Crude oil down 53 cents on Friday to 45 bucks, but it was up for the week. Gold down $15.50. It's been slipping the last week or so. S&P cash index gains $8.70. NASDAQ 100 gains $105. Near the all-time highs. Remember that 12,500 number is closer to that, so we still have a couple hundred points. We're going higher there. SOX 31 points up on the day, and that is a new high on the SOX. The biotech's up 135 points. Whatever it is, what it is there came near the old high. Russell 2000 up 10. That is a new closing high on the Russell. The VIX closes at 20.84. So trying to slip back. Look at this. Look at that red risk line. We got under it, but we closed right on it. So you don't want to break that easily. But again, we're trying to slip back into the teens on the VIX. And then at a certain point in time there, maybe we can start talking about a VIX trade for us, which we made so much money on the first VIX trade early in the year. We haven't had them since. We try to do them once a quarter, but not when it's so high. We'll get another shot at those. The trend closes at 1.64, puts the 10-day at 0.95. We're not under the 0.85 on the 10-day moving average, so it doesn't matter. NASDAQ volume 3.4 billion on the half day on Friday. Again, remember, that was a half day, and then Thursday was closed, but Wednesday we did have a really good volume, actually. But 10-day moving average of volume here is up. Again, kind of awkward just with the holiday week. I don't want to get too fixated on that. The advanced decline ratio on the NASDAQ, plus 1052 on the half day on Friday, plus 356 on the New York on the half day on Friday, 357. Google closes up $22.89 on Friday. Again, I remind everybody that was a half day, so it is what it is. Apple up 56 cents. Not a big deal. Nowhere near the highs on Apple. Netflix up at $6.36. Nowhere near the highs on Netflix. Amazon up $10.27. Not really near the highs. Look at that 13 signal though back in the end of August. So right on the money in terms of a sell signal. Never got back above that. Tesla up $11.76 as it's getting added to the S&P. Facebook up $2.22. That's still not near an all-time high. Zoom closes up $27.89. Goldman Sachs down on Friday, down $1.14 for the half day. The TLT, the 20-year bond ETF, up $1.54. The Dow is up 37 points, which is basically flat. And the put-call ratio has been awful, so low the last couple of days, which is really not a good sign for the market when you see that. So we'll see what we get. In terms of intra-week action, and again, I'm going to go to 10-minute candles, but with the holiday, this is kind of abrupt, right? So what you see is if I slide it like this, that's the close on Friday on the far left side of the chart. We gapped up Monday. Eventually came back, filled the gap, and closed slightly positive, just about where we opened, to be honest. Tuesday gap up, push higher for 2 hours, and then dead flat. Wednesday dead flat. Remember, people usually leave Tuesday and start traveling and everything, so we were expecting a dead day on Wednesday. We got a dead day on Wednesday. Thursday the market's closed. The futures are open a half day with nobody around. Friday the market's open for half day, and so we didn't. So really, at the end of the day, if you really look at where we closed on Friday, it's about where we were about 2 hours in on Tuesday, and that's kind of typical for Thanksgiving week. Nothing really tends to happen. So it's what we call Module 10 in our training sessions, right? So anyways, there's not a lot here to discuss. We typically have, so I do want to be clear, we typically have 2 great weeks of trading ahead. The first 2 weeks of December are some of the best, and we're looking forward to that, so we'll see what we get. But in terms of economic data, let's go through everything. So OPEC meetings, fine. Preliminary industrial production out of Japan, along with their retail sales. This is all Sunday. MI inflation gauge out of Australia. Business confidence out of New Zealand. Company operating profits out of Australia, along with their private sector credit. Manufacturing PMI out of China, and non-manufacturing PMI out of China. Housing starts out of Japan going into Monday. German preliminary CPI. Remember, these are all Eastern Standard Time. Retail sales out of Switzerland. Spanish flash CPI. M3 money supply out of the UK, along with their mortgage approvals and net lending to individuals. OPEC meetings this week. We got Eurogroup meetings this week. Canada's got their housing start, or their building permits, IPPI, RMPI, and current account. U.S. at 9:45 a.m. Eastern Time Monday morning. Chicago PMI at 10, pending home sales. Australia's got their AIG manufacturing index. Japan's got unemployment rate, capital spending, building approvals out of Australia, current account out of Australia. Final manufacturing PMI out of Japan. Caxton manufacturing PMI out of China. Cash rate, the new rate announcement out of the Bank of Australia at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So that's all Monday night. Then Japan's got their 10-year bond auction. Going into Tuesday, commodity prices out of Australia, GDP out of Switzerland, housing prices out of the UK at 2 a.m. Eastern Time, Spanish manufacturing PMI, Swiss manufacturing PMI, Italian, French, German, all the same, and then the broad European manufacturing PMI. ECOFIN meeting numbers, final manufacturing PMI out of the UK, CPI flash estimate, core CPI flash estimate. We've got Canada's GDP, manufacturing PMI, GDT price index, final manufacturing PMI, and ISM manufacturing PMI here in the U.S., along with construction spending. Ward's total vehicle sales at some point. New Zealand's got their overseas trade balance. Japan's got their monetary base, BRC shop price index. We've got GDP out of Australia at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Wednesday, consumer confidence out of Japan, German retail sales out of Europe, CPI out of Switzerland, Spanish unemployment change, Italian monthly unemployment rate, PPI, the unemployment rate out of Europe, 10-year bond auction out of the UK, ADP non-farm employment change out of the US, labor productivity out of Canada, crude oil inventories out of the US, Beige Book out of the US, AIG construction index out of Australia, building consensus out of New Zealand, trade balance out of Australia, Caxton services PMI out of China, 30-year bond auction out of Japan. Takes us to Thursday, and then we get the services PMI numbers out of Spain, Italy, France, Germany, the final European numbers, the broad UK numbers, retail sales out of Europe, challenger job cuts, the initial and continuing jobless claims numbers out of the US, final services PMI and ISM services PMI numbers, natty gas here in the US at 10:30 a.m. on Thursday, retail sales out of Australia, German factory orders, 2 a.m. Eastern Time on Friday, French government budget balance, Italian retail sales, UK's construction PMI, and then we come back to North America. We got employment change and the unemployment rate out of Canada, their trade balance, our trade balance, and our unemployment rate. Those are two of our big three right there for the month. So we'll be half size Thursday night going into Friday, plus factory orders at 10. Busy week here in the U.S. Whew! It is what it is. So we shall see. It looks like that Friday is the bigger number for everything. Remember, we got 2 to 3 solid weeks of trading before we go to Christmas. Let's take a quick look at the holiday schedule. So everything this week looks good. Everything the following week looks good. Everything the week after looks good. So you got 3 weeks. And this is usually a good time of year. So be a good trader. Let's get to work. Let's make some money. Charts as usual brought to you by eSignal. If you've not yet taken a trial of our services, feel free to do so. We will help you out for a couple weeks. Have a great trading week.